Today, this company, 10% of what we put, and they are getting better results because they are using the new up-to-date technology.
With a relatively small team, I can compete against large corporations like I've never been able to before.
We have built a lot of things that honestly disappeared quickly. I remember a time when things needed 3 years to disappear as tech.
I can leverage generative AI and robotic process automation together.
For a new startup that's starting in generative AI or in cybersecurity, what advice you will give them if they start up in 2025? Welcome to TheoSym Spotlight. Today, we are with a very accomplished scientist, engineer, and as well speaker. I was impressed by the level of project, Dr. Darren Lucifer. So welcome, Dr. Darren, to our Spotlight. And I will start by letting you introduce yourself and tell us a summary of your very accomplished life.
Oh man, summary of my life. I've actually thought about that recently because I recently had open heart surgery. So I did a lot of retrospection on my life. I would say first and foremost, I am a husband to an incredible wife. And second, a father to 10 children. And that's a lot of kids. I only have 3 more that are launching soon. They're going to be, they're in college and getting ready to move on. As far as my career goes, I'm a software engineer by trade. I've been an executive. I enjoy working with large teams. I enjoy really what I do today, which is I come into organizations and help them understand where they currently are, both in people and organizational structures, in their processes, and then in the technology, and how to leverage all those together to make their world more effective and efficient in what they're doing. And I love it. I love coming in and helping organizations and seeing change as it goes in. And I just recently started following Sam. Sam and I, careers are going backwards. He started in academia. I'm starting to teach. I just started teaching Vanderbilt University as an online professor, which I'm enjoying quite a bit, actually. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing. An accomplished professor, an accomplished software engineer who has 10 kids. How was it for you? Tell me. That's amazing. I love that.
The 10 kids part is an interesting thing. It's a blended family. My wife and I are married 13 years this year. I had 6 kids. She had 4, and we blended them together. And it was crazy. It was mass chaos at the beginning. It was, and so much so that we thought other people should benefit from this. So my wife and I have a podcast where we talk about blending the families and how to find happiness and joy in mass chaos, and sometimes bad things happen sometimes, and finding a way out of that. So we talk about that. So yeah, it's crazy. And now that they're all leaving the house, I found that parenting adults is even harder.
I will have a very particular question because that's my, let's call it, pain today. I used to travel all the time with my wife, and we used for a while having 1 kid. Okay, so we continue traveling together. Now we have 3, it's impossible. So how you are dealing with that? Because when you have a lot of kids, absenting from the house for a conference or something seems heavy, right?
My wife has been on several of these trips with me, and we use that as our escape. That was our way of keeping the flame alive to my wife and I, is getting away from the kids and pretending. And we're actually really good at this. We pretend like it's just her and I in the world. And it's awesome. We don't call home and check on the kids because we've left them with someone that we trust, right? We don't even care about our bills that we have. We just completely disconnect from our old life, and we're just having fun wherever we are in the world. And it's wonderful.
That's a great advice. Let me go and use the flame, kids, family, to transition to our era, the era of generative AI, to the era of open, let's call it, book. We are living in a century where everything is open. Everybody knows everything about everyone. And you have a very great topic maybe to educate our listeners about. And I will be precise here. How generative AI is amplifying the threat of cybersecurity. What's your take on that?
Oh, this is a big one. In fact, it's a big problem that a lot of organizations have to now deal with. because just as we can use generative AI to help us write a better email, which that's probably the number one thing that it's being used for today, cyber criminals and hackers are using generative AI to up their skills dramatically and quickly, and even getting Gen AI to write code for them and permutations of code very quickly. So what this means is that hackers can move a lot faster than they ever have before, which means all the white hats out there, the guys preventing your CISOs and your cybersecurity engineers, they have to leverage generative AI as well in order to keep up. And the attack vectors are massive. And generative AI has even opened up new attack vectors. We're seeing people attacking Gen AI and getting information out of generative AI that they weren't able to get before. So we're seeing new types of attacks that are tailored and socially tailored to specific individuals. I've had on my show, Embracing Digital Transformation, a couple people that all they do is ransomware remediation. And a fascinating story. They said that all the ransomware attacks that we're seeing with large organizations are first social media and personal attacks against executives. They learn everything they can about an individual, and then they go after their family, they go after them, and then they say, we will destroy you unless you pay this much, and we've now captured all your data in your company, and they know very intimate things about your family. So it's a little scary. It's a lot scary out there.
I meet a lot of startups on my show and in my life. And most of them, when I ask them about cybersecurity, because honestly, it's a big background thinking for me. It's scary, as you said. And most of them, they tell me we are always using the cloud. So Google of this world, Amazon, Microsoft, all our data is there. So we are safe.
Well, I love this question because it's something I run into when I talk to companies as well. And Google, Amazon, Oracle, Microsoft, all the big boys, they do have a security model. And each one is a little bit different. But out of the box, it only provides a minimal level of security. You have to understand those security models and leverage them and use them appropriately. For example, if I encrypt all of my data in an Amazon S3 container, that's great. But if I store all my keys in open text in the same cloud, you just circumvented all that encryption that you did. I've seen this happen before, right? Or if you're writing your numbers down, your passwords down on the back of your laptop under a sticker on the back of your laptop, do you think that someone can't look those up? We're seeing this a lot. Endpoints into your data, like a laptop or industrial control systems, if they have access to that data, are they trusted? Have you established a zero trust type of architecture to help you with those things? So just having those in the cloud as security doesn't mean that you're totally secure.
If someone come into my Google Drive or OneDrive and they hack it, they took all the data encrypted, right? A ransom attack. I cannot just call Microsoft. I tell them, hey, delete everything and get the...
It's very difficult because first off, you have no idea how long ago they infiltrated you. You have no idea. You can get it back up. How far back are you going to go? If you go back just a week, maybe they've already put something in there in OneDrive that will let them back in again. And that's very common. So you've got to go back. It takes a lot of forensics to understand when you were infiltrated and how far back you need to go. And then how much data are you going to lose? So it's important that we understand cybersecurity, and hiring a professional to do this, especially for small companies, is probably more cost effective than going and trying to just figure it out yourself.
So the same way the criminal will get more sophisticated using AI, the other side, what about protector? Are they getting smarter using AI, or they're waiting for the catastrophe to happen?
They absolutely are. And so it's a nuclear arms race. It's a mutual destruction. It is an arms race between the black hats and the white hats using generative AI. And every once in a while, you get a really great advance in either side, and then the other side kind of evens up. So it is important that you are keeping your tools current and also your patches current in these systems, because they are always changing. And this is critical, that it's a continual thing that you do. If you're sitting on a box that's been updated in 3 or 4 years, you are vulnerable. Absolutely. The thing is that you've got to learn Gen AI. It is a game changer, especially in cybersecurity.
For small companies, what's your advice? What's the best non-expensive practice that they need to do?
Probably the best thing you can do is go look at the NIST standards for cybersecurity. There's great learning that can go on there. And if you adhere to the standards, you're about 90% there. There's more to do. But if you've done none of those things, you can at least see where you sit as far as cybersecurity, sanitation, and things like that. But number one, teach your people in your organization about phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are the number one successful way that cyber criminals get into your infrastructure, which is amazing. It goes back to human. So number one, training. And if you look at the NIST standards on cybersecurity, it's a lot about training and audit. It's not a lot about tools as much as it is about process and cultural change, right? So having that security first concept is probably your number one thing.
Let me go back to future of humanity. We have an expert in cybersecurity, quantum computers. What will happen? Add quantum computers to the mix. What's your take?
Well, the idea is that a quantum computer can break encryption. And it can, the encryption that we've been using for the last 20 or 30 years. And it's not instantaneous, but it's pretty close. Because the way that quantum computers can operate in multiple states at the same time, it means that if I've got a encryption algorithm that uses a 512-bit key, all I need is a quantum computer with 512 qubits. And I can break your encryption pretty quick. Upping that to 1,000 or 2,000 characters in your encryption key will help some, but as the quantum computers become faster or larger, they'll be able to break those as well. So there are standards out there, new encryption techniques that are quantum resilient. I'm not going to say quantum safe completely, because they have to be tested thoroughly by quantum computers, which we do have some out there, and then we are running some tests against them. But these new lattice-based encryption algorithms are actually much more difficult for quantum computers to tackle, not only because of their complexity, because they were built around protection against quantum computing. So the adoption of these lattice-based algorithms is going to be critical. Now, the problem that we have with them is they're very time-consuming to encrypt and decrypt data. But companies like Intel and AMD and Qualcomm are starting to build these algorithms in chips, which means the speed will increase. The amount of time it takes to encrypt and decrypt will get down to where it is today, which is less than 1%. Looking at this, you will have to re-encrypt. If I had a quantum computer and I was a nation state, I would not let other people know I had it. Why? Because now I can unlock a whole bunch of data that's sitting out there that I've been collecting for years. And don't kid yourself, nation states have been collecting data for years, even encrypted data, because once they turn that quantum computer on, they can decrypt all that data. So any new secrets that you have or old secrets that you have that have been out there and exposed, and maybe you were infiltrated and you're like, well, it's no big deal. It is a deal. It is. Once you turn those quantum computers on, they'll be able to decrypt those. So it is a game changer. Luckily, we're ahead of the curve with encryption and decryption technology. So it does affect crypto as well. And Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies and crypto networks are starting to look at these new encryption algorithms. And So those can be injected into those networks, and we can be much more safe. But there's lots of different techniques that people are using to hide. They shard data and have different encryption keys, and they use security through obfuscation. Oh, you got to find my bits first. Well, that only protects you for so long until they find all the bits. These new algorithms are much better quantum resilient, which means we think they're going to do a good job against quantum computers hacking them.
You mentioned cryptocurrency. Where does cryptocurrency stand in all that mix? Quantum computers, generative AI, will their value as crypto? They are protected by the secret of how we generate them, right?
Yeah.
How this will be impacted, in your opinion, by the advancement of generative AI and potential and advancement in
Well, I
computers?
think generative AI doesn't have nearly as much impact on the crypto networks as much as quantum does, because the crypto networks and the whole concept behind distributed secure ledgers is that they're encrypted. So if we change the encryption algorithms to more quantum resilient algorithms, then they'll be protected. So I think we're okay. I still see generative AI as being leveraged by hackers for social engineering hacks to get people to give up their keys or to store these in nefarious places. So, I mean, that goes into normal hacking.
I want your take on a particular topic that is in the news these days, DeepSeek, and how with much lower investment, new startups are catching with the big boys, let's call them, okay? What do you think the future of that weird competition, weird era, what do you think about it?
Well, this is really interesting because I just did a podcast with Dr. Doug Schmidt. It actually came out on January 3rd. And we talked about this specifically. The bar has been lowered for entry. So startups now can compete with large companies because they can be nimble. And normally the barriers to entry are very large, and large corporations can do a lot of things because they have a lot of workers to do it. But with generative AI, I can leverage generative AI and robotic process automation together to mimic a lot of workers, whether it's a sales team, a customer support, or programmers, content generation. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen. So with a relatively small team, I can compete against large corporations like I've never been able to before. And some of the problems that we have in large organizations is the bureaucracies and the processes that they've established slow them down, and on purpose, because they are risk averse primarily. They need to control things. So this really gives startups the ability to move quick and to move much faster than large organizations can. We're seeing this in a little microcosm in the media world. We're seeing the disintegration of network TV, and YouTube channels are starting to take off like crazy with, just like you and I say, with two guys and a camera.
Amazing how generative AI, in our case, in our channel, just month to month, the quality of editing is improving so much just by incorporating technologies. It's really scary from the level of investment. I'm also an investor, and I start becoming very scary because an investment I made 3 years ago in a company, today I have competition for this company that put like 10% of what we put, and they are getting better result because they are using the new up-to-date technology. We have built a lot of things that honestly disappeared quickly. I remember a time when things needed 3 years to disappear as tech, and now it needs a month. So what's your take on this? Where are we going? Especially you deal with big companies.
It's very disruptive what's going on here. And it reminds me of The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton. And it's fascinating because something from the side can disrupt a whole industry and displace long-lasting organizations. And like you said before, it used to take years for those organizations to, slowly disintegrate. Now it's so much faster. So what does that mean? When you've got an idea, you've got to productize it and get it into market quicker than you ever have before and capitalize on it as quickly as you can. If you don't, someone else will. And in the past, large companies could just outspend you. right? With platforms like social media, and we've seen things go viral, you can capture that lightning in a bottle and boom, all of a sudden you're off to the races and you actually may become larger than you want to overnight. And these large corporations are still sitting there going, let's sit in the boardroom and talk about it on what we're going to do. I think someone that understands this very well is Elon Musk, because he understands you have to move quick to change industries. You have to move quick. And I think he sees that, and he knows that we've got to talk to the creators and not the bureaucrats, because the creators are the ones that are going to succeed moving forward. That's how I see it.
Talking about Elon Musk, let's go a little bit to the new era. We are talking about crazy things like restructuring government, introducing AI everywhere, mega or even giga investment. Do you think that the United States of America, with all bureaucracy, is ready to move that fast?
I think I'm the only country that is. And it's because of the American spirit. This is where I think things are interesting, that you can't quite put your finger on it, but in America, there's this spirit of innovation. There's a spirit that I can be and become whoever I want. It's not the same anywhere else like it is here. And that spirit of innovation, the spirit of manifest destiny that was mentioned in Trump's inauguration on moving beyond where we're currently at, is not just a land grab. It is a intellectual grab. It is a knowledge grab. And if you look, America fosters innovation. Everyone tries to figure out how to do better. And it's in our culture. Sure, our government has a lot of bureaucracy. I think that's going to change. I think it has to change. But overall, the people of America is what America is, not its government. And the people of America are innovators, they're creators. And look at all the wonderful things that we've created here in America. It's astounding. No one can do what we can do here.
Do you think the role of America need also to lead humanity toward the new era, or just America first, America only?
Well, you lead from the front. You don't lead from the side or the back. Everyone still wants to send all their top people to America for higher education. And why? Is it because we have better teachers? No, it's because the culture here is a culture of innovation and advancement, and you can become whoever you want to here in this country.
I agree with you 100%, but I have also a take on this, and my take is by love. I love America. I think whatever you said, it's true, and it's the only place that is honestly the first candidate with excellence to take humanity to the next civilization level. But I still have worries, and I will take your opinion on that. It's about people who tells you, yes, but by empowering this agent of change, like Elon Musk, Trump, you could shake the society and also put in jeopardy other values like democracy, like individual rights, privacy. What's the balance in your opinion?
Those are guardrails that we have that we still need, which is really interesting. It says, I need privacy. There is no constitutional right to privacy. Never was, never will be. Some states have that and things like that. I go back to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which it's the pursuit of happiness. That's what it is. All these other things are distractors and they're fear-ridden. We can move forward fast and with caution. And that's totally doable. So you do need both, and there needs to be a balance. But I tend to want my foot on the accelerator more than on the brakes. I'm a change agent. I'm out there trying to make change. And like I said, those that don't change, don't innovate, left behind. Look at Xerox. Xerox, one of the most innovative companies in the world. What are they known for? Copy machines. But they're the ones that created smartphones. They're the ones that created the mouse, windowing operating systems. Another great example is Kodak. Kodak had a digital camera right out there with everyone else at the beginning. But they weren't able to capitalize on it because they kind of tinkered with innovation, but they put the brakes on and the gas at the same time. So us as a nation, we are innovators. We need to be unleashed on our innovation. With a break, we still need a break, but we're seeing things that when we get guardrails that we can excel, we can do incredible things. We can change the world, and we continue to do it.
People tells me, listen, Elon Musk come up with Tesla, Chinese electric car now is much, much better. OpenAI, and they come up with ChatGPT, and now DeepSeek is much better. So yes, America is innovating, Chinese are copying and improving the copies. So they tell you Chinese will kill our capability to innovate.
It's just the opposite. If I have no competition, I don't innovate.
Are there really competition or copier that have no investment in innovation, but investment in better copier? Because it's cheaper. Once you OpenAI, thank you, Elon Musk, for Tesla.
Well,
now we can improve a little bit, and
we saw the same problem in the 70s with Japanese. The Japanese copied a lot of our electronic stuff, and they were pros at it, and they were great at optimizing processes. And are the Japanese known for the semiconductor industry today? No. I with cultures all over the world, every culture has something unique about them that is their superpower. None of them have what America has as far as innovation. We continue to innovate. We continue to be on the bleeding edge. We continue to drive everything forward. Others will follow. We want them to follow. Why? Because it's going to make it better. So when they say, oh, China's going to catch up to us, if we stop, they will, but we won't stop.
I love this wisdom. You are someone who got involved in a lot of projects with a lot of countries at very high level. So let me ask you, what are the nations that, in your opinion, have the most visions in terms of progress, innovative project, beside the US?
I would say Saudi Arabia right now they are pushing the boundaries on innovation right now, and it's wonderful. And they're bringing in top talent from all over the world to do it. And the reason they can is because they have a lot of money. And they're trying to diversify what they're doing, and they've got a great vision. So they've got a visionary, and that's important. That visionary is important. So Saudi Arabia is one. I would also put on the list Taiwan, always on the front end of things. I would also include Korea in that list as well. But they may be becoming stagnant. I'm not sure. But one of the things we have to be cautious of is we have to be cautious of becoming complacent. And I think America has become a little bit complacent. And so that's why I love visionaries that are pushing the boundaries, trying to get us to think beyond what we're comfortable with. Because when we do, we get new industries or the revitalization of new industries like the space industry with Elon and SpaceX, or the automotive industry with electric cars. Everyone's like going, electric cars, too expensive to build, too many problems. Elon changed the game there. So we're seeing that. If you look at the automation and manufacturing, you're seeing huge leaps forward in that by some visionaries that are out there pushing the boundaries. That's what we need. So when someone or a company or a country becomes complacent and sits back and just collects, that's when they can be overrun.
I have a dream myself, and I will share your huge experience in dealing with all these kind of projects. It's a chance and an honor for me to have you in the spotlight and ask you, do you think an alliance between Elon Musk, Saudi Arabia, and of course the United States of America is possible? And will that be something good for humanity?
I think overall collaboration is good, and cooperation is good as well. The geopolitical aspects of that, I can't touch. I'm not well-versed enough in it. I'm a technologist.
We are talking about technology here. We're not going into deep politics. I'm talking about technological collaboration.
I like it when you get smart people in a room together and battle out discussions, battle out how to solve problems. I love Elon's way of open sourcing his patents. I think that's wonderful because it gets people starting to solve problems that before they were saying, oh, it's too hard. So yes, I think collaboration is key moving forward, but you need a little bit of competition in there as well, right? Otherwise, you're in an echo and everyone's pointing in the same direction. We need people that that are willing to against the grain to try new things out and new technologies out.
I will link two things we discussed about today in a segment. We spoke about cybersecurity. Now you are telling me open source patent. Isn't that somehow contradictory? How we keep ourselves safe and we open source our patent and our code?
Well, you know, it's fascinating because I just interviewed the VP of Open Source and Developer Services at Intel. And I asked him the same question. I said, Intel is incredible. They've got 20,000 software engineers and they don't sell software. They open source everything. And I said, well, how is this? And he goes, it's open source. And the whole concept of open source is a conundrum for economists. Because an economist would say that individuals are there for themselves. So what is the motivator for open source for a corporation? Well, the motivator is to rise the industry as a whole and increase technical acumen as a whole across all the industry, which actually increases the ability to do more with less resources. So the model shifted in the 90s from selling software to now selling support for software. And almost everyone has some kind of an open source model. There are some exceptions, and it's going to come back to bite them, and that is NVIDIA. They have a closed system, and their licensing costs are outrageous, and it's thwarting innovation. So there are alternatives that people are starting to move in droves to that are more open source, which now gets people out of these closed systems. So you would think that open source collaboration would be, hey, I'm going to lose my intellectual property. All it does is raise the game and increases even more valuable intellectual property. And in the end, it's going to benefit society as a whole. And has the high-tech community suffered from open source? I don't think so.
No, but also in the past, I have seen that the big contrast between Bill Gates and Linus, who one was putting the system for profit, Windows, and one put the system open source, Linux. Look where they are right now. So it's scary sometimes if you think too much for others, or the others are not thinking of you.
I think Linus is perfectly happy with where he's at.
He is. It's not about the person. It's about the comparison between for-profit and open source.
But also look at what Microsoft has adopted. They've adopted a highly open source strategy, right? Because the cost that they have had in keeping their software moving forward has become too large. So now they're relying on the open source community to help. And I asked this question of Arun on my show. I said, what motivates software engineers to do this? And he goes, it's a really strange thing. Software engineers want to be part of something bigger. They want to contribute to society, not just make money. And that is an interesting concept, right? That's why open source is so successful, is the individual contributors that are doing it. They may be getting paid their company to do it, but they can make a whole lot more possibly if they went off on their own and developed software and sold it. But that's not what's interesting to them. What's interesting to them is solving problems and helping society. I think it's an inner glass on these people.
I agree with you. And what about cybersecurity in this case? Is it safer to have open source, open patent?
There's been a lot of studies done on this from Carnegie Mellon and MIT. And open source software tends to be more secure than closed software because there's a lot of eyes looking at it. And there's a lot of eyes looking at it from very different perspectives of the world. Some of the best software engineers in the world are in the Eastern Bloc countries, which is incredible, right? And can I hire all those people? Right. Well, I could set up shop there and do that. But if I open source it, culturally, they have always been able to get through things with very few resources. So they become very good at finding holes and gaps in systems. Some of the best hackers in the world, Estonia, Poland, Ukraine, Moldova, Russia. These are some of the best hackers in the world, come from their area. Iran, another great hacking community, and Korea. So can I hire people from all over there? Sure, I could. Or I can open source it. And These people are looking at your code. They want to use your code. They want it secure. They're going to make changes. It flies in the face of business because I went to business school. And business school was how do I make money? And the open source concept is completely flying in the face of everything I learned at business school. It just doesn't make sense, but it works. It works very well.
Please give advice for a new startup that's starting in generative AI or in cybersecurity. What advice you will give them if they start up in 2025?
Continuous learning, because things are changing so quick. Get your product out fast and early and get people using it. But continuous change. If you're not making updates to your product weekly, maybe even daily, you're falling behind. That's how it is right now. It's this constant innovation. And it may be that your product does not hit 1 million downloads. Maybe it only hits 100,000 and you're helping organizations with your product. You've got to tailor it to specific industries. That's the way you'll succeed.